Hi everyone, Emily here from Emily's Excellent Epics, and today I have for you my February pile of possibilities. The reason why I say it's a pile of possibilities is January, my reading took a wild turn the last week and a half or so. So first of all, I traveled out of town for 2 weeks, and then just winter weather, having a lot of IEP meetings this month, I just fell hard into a kind of a slump where I just started binging a KU series. More to come on that in my January wrap up. But let's get started with what I'm going to be reading in February. So, first up, I'm going to continue reading in Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. So, my goal has been to read a book a month until I'm caught up with her. I did read Tower of Dawn in January, so now I'm on this book. I just wanted to start binging it and reading it, but I've been holding back where I'm holding myself to reading 1 to 2 chapters a day. So I'm currently on chapter 20 on page 180. It's a chunker. This is out of 980 pages left to go, or 980 pages total. So I still have 800 pages to go. But once February starts, I'm giving myself permission just full on start plowing through it because I need to know what happens to Manon, to Aelin, to Kale, to Rowan. I need to know what's going to happen. So, and this will finish this series for me. I also plan on reading Page by Tamora Pierce. This is book 4 in the Protector of the Small Quartet. There has been a Tortall readathon or read along that Christy Lewis over at Christy Lewis Dostoevsky in Space, Dia over at Novel Idea, and Victoria over at Unmusical Bookworm. They've been doing lives discussions of the books of Tortall by Tamora Pierce. So we're on book 4. This is book 10. They're only doing the quartets. They're not doing the Trickster's Choice and Trickster's Queen and Tempest and Slaughter. So once this is done, I do plan on reading those books too, just so that way I can complete my Tortall journey. But so far, all of these have been rereads for me, and I've enjoyed all the series. I didn't tell you about the series. Sorry about that. So we follow Kel. She in Tortall, they now allow females to train to become knights. However, she has to, in the first book, she gets accepted to be trained as a knight. However, she has to go through a year probationary period. And so that book follows that year probationary period. She trains to be a knight as Tortall has these immortals who are like spydrins and centaurs and basilisks. They're all now have crossed over into the land of Tortall. So really do enjoy this series. Of the 3 series, I would say the Immortals. The first book is Wild Magic. I would say that's my favorite, followed by Song of the Lioness, followed by this series. All right. Then I had picked from like a TBR jar of Herkhead prompts of books that I need to read. I didn't get to any of them. Oops. So, Carry On. I started listening on audio. I took a road trip. I traveled to meet some friends, and I had it playing for like 2 hours. And after the 2 hours, I'm like, I have no clue what I just listened to in those 2 hours. So I still need to read Carry On. I ended up purchasing it on Pango Books with some money that I had earned from that. So that will come eventually. I'm in the process of reading Ghost Story by Jim Butcher, which is like book 13, book 14 in the Dresden Files. So hopefully I'll finish that before February. We do have about a week left, 6 days. Hopefully I can make my way through it. It's not grabbing me as I wanted to. And I think because we're not interacting with some of the tried and true characters of the story. We've got some new characters, and that is not intriguing me as much. I still need to read The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. That was a pick that I picked. That's the first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. I still need to read Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This will be a reread for me. This would fit HRCYED for Merfolk, and it would also fit for bisexual, for the LGBTQ pride. I forgot, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, that would fit the spooky creatures prompt for HRCYED, and that would be vampires, and then I'm also using it for a duology. So there's that. I also, in February, I need to read a new release. I don't know what that will be. I'm hoping Book of the Month will have the newest B.K. Borison book, which is a sequel to First Time Caller. I'm hoping they will have Dawn of the North. I do have that on NetGalley. I just haven't read it yet. I'm listening to Road of Bones, and I'm going to listen to Kingdom of Ash to refresh my memory, especially some of the key events that happened at the end of Kingdom of Ash. So I can do Dawn of the North for a new release. But I also kind of want a romance, because that will be a quick read. But Book of the Month romances have not been working for me lately. All right, I still have 3 more books to go. The reason why I'm not giving a whole lot of explanation on the books that I just showed, because I already talked about them in my January TBR. All right, then I do want to have a couple of books by African American authors, given that it's African American History Month in February. So I hope to get to James by Percival Everett. This would fit my BIPOC prompt for HRCYED. It also is an award winner. And I don't know what else I've used it. It could be a retelling of a classic. This is it's a telling of Huckleberry Finn from James or Jim's perspective. He is the escaped slave who goes down the Mississippi River with Huckleberry Finn. I've heard phenomenal things about this, so I'm looking forward to diving into that. I also need to read, this is a chunky beast, Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. This is book 3 in the Legendborn series. I think there's 5 books planned, so we follow Brie Matthews. She is a student in high school, and she gets accepted into like an advanced program at University of North Carolina, I want to say, in Chapel Hill. And there she discovers this secret society that's centered on Arthurian legend. And she learns the magic that surrounds that secret society. They're basically fighting these like corporal, like demons, I guess. And then she also learns of her connection to root magic, which is tied to her African-American ancestors. And I've really enjoyed it. I can't really get into events because it's so spoilery once you hit book 3. I am really hoping that a certain love interest picks up. Like, I want not the first love interest in book 1. I'm wanting a hinted at love interest that was kind of hinted at in book 2 that could be a potential. Like, I'm hoping that happens. So, fingers crossed for that. I reread books 1 and 2 last summer, so that way I could read that. And so I need to read that so that way I don't forget what happened. And then last but not least, I need to read City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This would fit the BIPOC author prompt. This would also fit trilogy prompt for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. I am planning on buddy reading with someone, and we were going to do it in December. So I started it. I read about halfway through it, and I just was really kind of struggling through this book. I'm really hoping that it's because I had read like 5 Middle Eastern inspired fantasy novels back to back to back to back that just blew me out of the water. Thank you, Sabat Tahir. Ember of the Ashes, Air, We're Looking at You, that whole series. And then I read this, and it wasn't hitting me as much as the other series. So I'm hoping that is the case. So I was supposed to read this in December, buddy read it. I was the one who was making progress. My partner was not. January, we both made 0 progress. February, I will probably start back over, which kind of kills me because I'm halfway through this, 250 pages, but I honestly can't tell you really what's going on. I really struggled to get into this world. Fantasy worlds, like new fantasy worlds, are hard for me to enter into because, like, book ones are always just really hard for me because there's so much that's set up and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? I need to get acclimated to this fantasy world. And if it's an author that you've never read before, and I've read The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi, and I thought that was more readable than this. If you've never read an author too and acclimate to their fantasy world, it's doubly hard because you're trying to figure out how does this author write and then also acclimate yourself to a fantasy world. So I'm hoping that I'll enjoy this because I have the 2 other books. And that's my trilogy prompt for Hardest Reading Challenge You Ever Do. And I don't know what else I'm going to use for that. So there's that. So, phew, that's all I plan on reading. That went quicker than I thought it would. Let me know, have you read any of these books before? What should I prioritize? Because I realized I have a lot of books planned for February, and it's the shortest month, and there's no way that I'm going to read all of that. No way. So I do know for sure that I'm prioritizing Kingdom of Ash, and I'm prioritizing a new release because I have to. First of all, I have to finish Throne of Glass, and I also have to prioritize a new release because there's a time deadline for that, for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. And I should prioritize my buddy read. Beyond that, everything else I could kind of play around with. So what should I prioritize? Thank you so much for watching. And what are you looking forward to in reading in February? Talk to you in the comments.